good afternoon, everyone, and also good morning to those, especially on the West Coast. And again, please introduce yourself through the chat and let us know where you're joining us from, either your city or state. But let's get started. I know we all have lots of plans and it's also summer vacation right now. So again, welcome to NCRC's Membership Benefits webinar. My name is Diane Shung. I'm the Membership Engagement Manager. We're excited that you're here to either refresh your memory on our benefits, or if you're new to NCRC, to kind of learn the one-on-one on what you receive as a member. With that, next slide, please. All right, just some housekeeping items. As always, be respectful and professional in the space amongst your peers, as well as we go through the webinar. If you have any questions, at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there is a Q&A box. Feel free to add your questions through there, and hopefully we can periodically answer them, or through the webinar, they will be answered then as well as at the end. And then as always, definitely visit our ncrc.org website, as well as our Twitter and other social media channels to keep in touch. So next slide, please. Okay. All right, before we go into the nuts and bolts, let me introduce the rest of the crew here. Again, I am Diane, and I'm actually going to turn to my colleague, Katie, who's also part of the membership department.
Hi, all. I am Katie Roundtree. I'm the Director of Membership and Events, and I am just thrilled to be with you guys today.
Great. And then Kaylee?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kaylee Harcrow. I am the Membership and Events Coordinator. And then I'll just let Will introduce himself.
Buenas tardes. My name is Will Gonzalez. I'm the Executive Director of SEBA. We're in Philadelphia, Coalition Building Organization. I'm also a proud member of NCRC, and I'm lucky enough also to serve on the NCRC board. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All right, so let's get into this webinar. So I am going to turn it over to Kaylee, who can kick it off.
Okay, so before we start, I just wanted to give everybody an overview of NCRC, like who we are, what we do, and then just a little bit of an intro into membership before I pass it to Diane to dive in deeper. So NCRC was formed in 1990 by local, regional, and national organizations to increase private capital to traditionally underserved communities and create more opportunities for people to build wealth, which is a mouthful. So what I normally like to say is we work on ending discrimination and fight for equity in lending, housing, and business by working with community leaders, policymakers, and financial institutions. So currently we have over 600 community-based organizations, AKA our members, that work on important issues like affordable housing, access to banking services, entrepreneurship, job creation, et cetera. NCRC's members consist of nonprofit, state and local governments, and educational institutions across the nation, including community reinvestment organizations, faith-based institutions, community organizing and civil rights groups, minority and women-owned businesses, and so on. There's so many. That being said, NCRC does offer many benefits with membership that include webinars and training, research assistance, and our member hub that can pair our fair lending tool, the ability to attend Hill Day Advocacy Week around our conference, CRA advocacy work, certain grant opportunities, legislative regulatory calls that happen monthly with our policy team. But I'm going to let Diane dive deeper into that. But first, I just want to talk about how you can qualify as a member. So that would be on the next slide. So as I mentioned previously, it is nonprofits, local or state government, and educational institutions that are eligible to become NCRC members. If you are not one of these types of organizations, or you're an individual seeking some of these resources, we do have the Just Economy Club that is either a monthly, yearly, or a one-time payment of your choice that starts at $5 a month, and it gives you some of these benefits. But for the regular membership, to determine the cost of your membership as a nonprofit is based on your organization's yearly budget. So if your budget is less than $500,000 a year, then you would only pay $175 Less than $1 million, you would pay $350 a year, and then larger than $1 million, you would pay $900 a year. Our local government institutions pay $900 a year, and state governments pay $1,500 a year. And then lastly, educational institutions pay $900 a year. But now that you have like the backstory and the eligibility requirements and everything like that, I am going to pass it to Diane because I just briefly ran through it and I want her to dive deeper into the actual benefits that come with your membership.
Thank you, Kaylee. And as a reminder, some of these slides you'll see at the end as well, just, as just to make sure you get to see it again a second time. I know we went through that quite quickly. With some of the benefits, I do want to touch upon, we have a wide range as a national association. We provide a lot of items and benefits for our members. Briefly, to summarize, for instance, we have research assistants. We also have a national training academy that is open to members and non-members, actually, wide range of different educational learning courses, as well as we also have industry newsletters that you can specifically sign up and subscribe. For instance, a health equity, some are just general newsletters, some are more specific where it's also race and equity as well as some of the topics. In addition, we also have a national housing network that is for individuals who are housing counselors. They apply for that program, be part of a cohort and learn as a group and share best practices. In addition, we also have selected grant opportunities. I know some of you on this call participated in our second round of Field Empowerment Fund, which was through the benefit of Morgan Stanley that selected NCRC to administer that grant. I know they're going through those applications, so hopefully those who have applied for that grant and were eligible will hear from our staff soon. But with that, we do want to highlight today at least two benefits for sure that I know Will want to also share his journey and how he utilized those benefits. And the first one is our events. With a lot of associations, we have webinars. We also have, at least in NCRC, a regional summit, which focuses on local issues in a more intimate setting. But I know in the past few years with the pandemic, webinars have been a popular item. Some topics have been either a one-on-one on our fair lending tool from our research department. We've had a home mortgage lending course as well to highlight what to do during the pandemic, how to suddenly flex in those difficult times, as well as another topic was a racial wealth divide training as well. And many more topics we've covered in the last couple of years. But overall, these topics were from member feedback, addressing our members' needs, but also as a national organization, our departments, especially our research and special initiatives, recommend and see what national trends members should realize and learn and be on the cutting edge of what's going on in our industry to help educate all of us to what the new things that are coming up and new challenges. And with that, I know some of you with the webinars and the regional summits, that culminates into our largest event, which is our Just Economy Conference. That is our annual event. And this past June, I know it was our first in person, very exciting, exhilarating, a little strange because we hadn't seen each other for a few years, but I know many people loved it. It was a way beyond your local area to see other peers in your industry. It is your opportunity to network, to celebrate the accomplishments that you've done in the industry, but also, again, share best practices and learn from one another. An extension of that Just Economy Conference, the annual conference, an added benefit as a member is you are able to participate in Advocacy Week / Hill Day, which is your opportunity as members to advocate for NCRC and let our policy makers know the work that you do, educate them of why the work that you do is so critical and important to this country and for those involved in the communities. I know that was quite a bit, but I actually would love to hear Will and how him as a member, how he approaches our events, whether it is the annual conference or our regional summits or even our webinars. So, Will.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be part of this webinar and also to be a member and be active with NCRC. I think, the brand NCRC is one that has respect for, garners respect because of its strength and substance and knowledge of the banking industry and in money and in housing and in economic development. And so, especially in dealing with financial institutions, it is very helpful to be tied into the knowledge base that NCRC provides, and that knowledge base is fed through its regional conferences, which is how I got involved. The one in Philadelphia, which was amazing. I know we haven't had one of those since the public health emergency, but we hope that we return to those. But again, to see the local government officials there, the banks, et cetera, all to be gathered under one roof speaks volumes. And to then share in acquiring knowledge and discussing what we learn and what we're talking, the subject matter with those other individuals present is amazing. Obviously, the Just Economy Conference, great to have been there this year. And again, the talking that takes place during the presentations, the learning that takes place, but then afterwards, the sharing and talking about what we heard or some latest developments, very important, especially as what money is changing, who banks are is changing, and pretty fast. And NCRC is a leader in breaking those things down and looking for the equity in it for us. I obviously look at things with how it affects our community. And so they're able to break that down for us, put it forward so that then we can have good discussions almost on equal terms with multi-billion-dollar financial institutions, which is tough for community-based organizations to do. And so I approach those events as a place to gather information, gather knowledge, and then also engage industry leaders, regulators, financial institutions in conversations on equal terms almost. And then on the webinars are a great way to, again, strengthen ourselves. As many of you know, last week, there was a deadline to submit comments around the proposed rule with the CRA, Community Investment Act. And so NCRC provided amazing support, and even a webinar the week before, and even in the legislative discussions that they organize almost on a weekly basis, where they provide us with information, we found out that deadline for the OCC at least was extended for another week for those, so that some of my colleagues who for some reason or another weren't able to provide it on time by last Friday can now do it by tomorrow. So again, it's just knowledge, information, resource access, and ability to exchange information at a time when banking is changing, what money is changing, and then at the time then there's inequality in terms of who has access to that information. NCRC levels the field somewhat. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's that exchange of, again, information, keeping us all up to date and, as a collective working towards pushing more growth in our industry. With that said, I do have a follow-up question for you, Will, especially at the Just Economy Conference. I know if I'm a first-time attendee, it must be overwhelming. Do you have any tips, especially in a larger conference, to either bring coworkers or how to network? What has worked for you and your peers when you get there?
The first time I went, you felt kind of out of place. There's a learning curve in all of this, right? And so that was great. Get there early, leave late. stay, participate in the extracurricular events that are sometimes organized. I mean, there was a last dinner party you guys had was amazing food, and then the ability to eat and talk with somebody. I think this past one, I made sure to bring colleagues from Philadelphia because I knew that for us to be effective, I needed to have an kind of like an organizing base in Philadelphia, because by myself acquiring the knowledge wasn't going to be enough to do the follow-up work that needs to be done. Because NCRC is a great advocate at the national level and provides you the support for us to do the work at the local level. So it's not a spigot, it's a well. So it's a well of information, it's a well of access to some of the community benefits agreements, et cetera. Just because NCRC was able to secure commitments from a bank doesn't mean that the bank is going to do it and deliver it in your neighborhood. You need to go to the well and push it and make things happen. And so knowing that, I knew that for this year's Just Economy Conference, I needed to bring 3, 4, 5 people from the Philadelphia area to get the knowledge, increase their vocabulary and knowledge base, so then we can do some organizing on our end to access the well.
I love that analogy. It's the perfect vision. I am actually going to turn it over to Katie to highlight a second benefit as a member of NCRC.
Yeah, so one of the things that our members get to do with us is build power to affect policy change. And we have a fantastic policy team. They're working to speak on behalf of our members, but also working to equip and educate our members so that y'all can speak powerfully to your elected officials, to regulatory agencies, to get what you need for your communities. So our policy team offers expertise on federal policies affecting a just economy. One of the really great rhythms that we have is a monthly legislative and regulatory call for members, where the topics that are most important, most pressing for that month get raised. Sometimes we'll have a little bit of a briefing from our staff, but we'll also include some opportunities for dialogue, questions from members about, what does this mean for me? What can we do? Has anyone heard anything about this? So it's a more intimate environment and kind of builds that connection between the local and the national. NCRC also holds ongoing calls and webinars to discuss and educate members on specific policies and opportunities for our members to influence change at a national level. Both Will and Diane have mentioned, the campaign that we're in right now around CRA reform, which many of you might have already submitted your comment letters, and we've been working hard to equip our members in a variety of ways to write powerful comment letters and to really make sure that the regulators are taking into account the needs of our communities when they go to make those revisions. And as has been mentioned, there has been a little bit of an extension. The original due date, the original deadline was last Friday, August 5th. But the federal agencies are accepting comments until tomorrow, August 12th. So if you missed that boat, it is not too late. The boat has circled back around a little bit. And there are also we talked about webinars, phone calls, the monthly LegReg call. The policy team does also produce a volume of sample comment letters, blog posts, works to connect members with other stakeholders, industry partners, to help build capacity and enable our members to speak powerfully and affect change. And yeah, is a great resource when you're going to meet with your officials, the folks that you need to move the needle with. We're here to help you, prepare for those meetings so that you know what you're talking about and feel confident in those conversations. And so, Will, I'd love to hear how you've used the expertise and the resources from our policy team on behalf of your community in Philadelphia.
Well, no, thank you. I mean, and there's various levels of that. So for example, NCRC tracks all types of different mergers between financial institutions. And so, sometimes they'll see something that I don't see or something that applies to us. And when you participate in some of these, like, for example, the legislative calls that you talked, there's always a section and they share with you, look, these are the mergers per state. This is what happened. And if, for example, on one occasion, I reached out to NCRC staff and say, tell me more about this particular one. What can we do about this? And they explained. And then they have access to the fair lending tool, and they could do research to help you not go into a discussion with a financial institution, a multi-million-dollar entity that's merging with another multi-million-dollar entity, and go in weak, but go in strong, and highlight those institutions' commitment to the public through the public charter that they have, which is being a bank. And then also put it in a way that shows that it's mutually beneficial for the financial institution and for the community. And so all that is background information that the research team at NCRC can provide. In terms of policy too, getting ready for, they call it Hill Day, I just call it, the Advocacy Week. Obviously, it's advocacy with Congress is not what it used to prior to the pandemic, but still, we are briefed, we come together, we help forge what the agenda is, and then the logistics of setting up the meetings, and then having those discussions and getting to know the staff of our elected officials, and then following up, and then using those contacts that were made to follow up on other things. But when we go to those discussions with elected officials, we don't go in naked, we go in empowered with information that is strong, provided by a leader in the industry in this area, which is NCRC. Last but not least, yesterday during the call, there was a discussion about a redlining case that happened in Philadelphia. And this morning, we're meeting with people from the Mortgage Bankers Association. And so I immediately reached out to that NCRC staff person and said, hey, I'm meeting with them tomorrow. Tell me more about that case. I was able to get the filings. I was able to get all types of information that made me be better prepared for today's meeting. And then to follow up on that consent agreement that was made between the Justice Department and that particular financial mortgage company that was caught redlining. So it's information, but it's not a spectator sport. You have to, it's like going to the library. You can't just show up to the library and the book information is going to get into your head. You have to participate. You got to engage, you got to challenge. And so especially when it comes to policy, Joseph Freed, Kevin Hill, amazing, really available, and provide great policy calls and other webinars, etc. The other thing is I want to do a shout out for the community organizing team, Jerry Kelman and Juan Layton, who again, experienced community organizers who sometimes I reach out to for just regular, what's going on. Sometimes there's a prep meeting as we're working towards a community benefits agreement, and we start organizing on that. So working on that. Last but not least, next week, SABA is going to be testifying regarding a merger of a financial institution, TD Bank, with somebody else. We're saying we're against the merger. I would not have the courage to do that unless I knew I had NCRC with my back, on my back, behind me. And so looking forward to talking with Kevin Hill tomorrow, the next day, so that when I testify in person, virtually, right? We are strong about why we are concerned about that merger.
Thanks so much, Will. That's great. And best of luck for you as you're testifying. We'll be rooting for you. And have great confidence that you will knock it out of the park. Awesome. Well, Diane, I'm actually going to go ahead and turn it over to you to talk about the Member Hub, which is where folks can find some of these resources and manage their membership account. I'm also going to encourage folks as we go along, if you have questions, we're hoping to have a little bit of time at the end to be able to answer those. So go ahead and put those in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll either answer via chat or circle back to them and answer them live at the end.
Great. All right, I will share my screen. So if you can bear with me for a moment. All right, perfect. Okay, so right now we are on the NCRC website. Before I show the Member Hub, which is a benefit for members, especially those who are non-members, who are, either today or later down the line, or, you're always welcome to reach out to the membership department if you want to set up a more intimate calls or have more specific questions. To join NCRC membership, just hover over the membership tab, click on join, and then it will take you to this page where you'll click on join today. And as mentioned, as you saw earlier, when Kaylee was presenting, all the different selections based upon your budget will depend on how much your membership, the membership fee is. So you will, for instance, let's say you're a nonprofit with a small budget under 500K, select the button select, and this is where you're able to purchase the membership through a credit card. If you're wanting to do a different payment, you're always welcome to reach out to us. We can provide an invoice, and you can provide a check or an ACH payment as well. So there's a lot of different options, as well as non-members. As you scroll down, there's also frequent asked questions, and again, a more written form of our benefits. But for our members, I would love, and even non-members, just to see what do you get in this Member Hub and all the items that we did chat about. The best is to hover over membership and then click on Member Hub. And ultimately, the Member Hub is your one-stop shop of everything. Upcoming events, updating, your payment information for your dues, seeing other highlightable webinars or blogs or things that you're interested, versus a traditional way of just going and exploring through our website. So to sign up, once you click on Member Hub, click sign in, click on sign in using password. This link over here is if you don't have an account and you have an account and need to reset. If you do not have an account, please reach out to us. Typically, the primary account holder can add teammates. If you're unsure who that is on your organization, just reach out to us and we can confirm, and you'll be able then to know which colleague has the primary access, and they can add you to see everything else in the hub. So I will log in with our credentials. And once you're signed in, give me 1 second. Okay, here is the Member Hub. So in the Member Hub, like I mentioned, it's a one-stop shop of everything. Up at top, especially those who have the primary access, if you click on settings and billing, you can change up your subscription, meaning your membership. For instance, if your budget increased, you can change the plan and level, as well as add different, as we scroll down, your members, unlimited to, if for instance, you're at the lowest level, you can add as many members in the next level and so on. So it's not limited to just one person for one organizational membership, which is great. So it's a great flat fee for membership, whatever level you are on. With that, as we scroll down, as mentioned on your right-hand side, you can sign up for those industry newsletters. Like I mentioned, different topics, health and wealth, policy-orientated items, events. On our left is our latest and greatest different policy reports, blog articles, things that are happening now that keeping you on the trend-wise for the industry of what's going on, what's the latest and greatest, basically. And also sometimes we post webinars. As you can see, this is the previous webinar. I see that we definitely need to update this, but As Katie mentioned, our legislative regulator calls are once a month, the second week of Wednesday. I believe the next one is on, as I pull up my calendar, September 14th at 1:30 Eastern time. So second Wednesday of every month. And the policy team with Joe Reed and so forth, as Will mentioned, different types of agendas and speakers. So great format to answer your very specific wonky policy questions. And as mentioned, our research section, I know a popular tool that our members love is the Fair Lending tool, which I will click on. And give me 1 second. All right. Just wanting for you to see, but this is our Fair Lending tool. It's a search engine where you can see, different criteria, either narrowed down to different metros, countries, states, and ultimately this helps you decide where all the types of lending is happening in your local area. So let's for instance, I'll click through this and show you the different buckets that the research team has designed for this lending tool. As you can see, they've designed it where you can look at, for instance, demographics, top mortgage originators, even breaking it down to business lending or bank branches, quite a bit. That team is led by our Jason Richardson, and they're always happy to provide you research assistance, any questions just to help you through that. And that's a great benefit for our members that I know is pretty popular because some organizations are on the smaller side and don't have that capability in-house, but we're able to provide that service. And just one last thing on the hub, we go back to the main page. In addition to the research, we also, again, one-stop hub of all the events, past summaries of the events, as well as those who are members, we actually highlight member stories. So you can share your accomplishments, how you got started, newest cases that you want to highlight. This is a great way, again, to cross-promote those best practices amongst your peers. And as you go down, there's different press releases and other articles you can read just in this one hub. All right. So one last thing that Kaylee mentioned, I know I've been talking about quite a bit about our organizational memberships, but if you do not qualify under those eligibility categories, we also have the Just Economy Club, and that's for individuals. And as she mentioned, it's monthly or annually, however you want to decide to provide that amount of membership as an individual. So I will show you where you can become a member for an individual. Again, membership join for the Just Economy Club right here. Just click on Just Economy and it will take you to this page to sign up. To scroll down, this is where you'll contribute your membership fee as an individual, either yearly, monthly, or even one time. But many of the benefits are similar to the organizational ones, just a few items that won't be provided, but you'll still be in the know as a Just Economy Club. All right, so that's it for the Member Hub. Those members, current members, if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. We always are updating that hub consistently. And non-members, if that's intriguing to you, let us know the membership. We're happy to show it to you again and kind of walk you through what benefits you fit for your journey and see if you want to come and join us. We're happy to have new members as well. All right, so I'm turning it over to Katie to finish out the rest of the event.
Yeah, thanks all. And I'm seeing some different questions come in. While those questions are coming in, I'm going to share a form to give us some feedback on this webinar and also let us know additional topics or questions that you have that you'd like to see us cover. I've gotten a couple of questions about organizational versus individual membership. Individuals can sign up as Just Economy Club members. There's kind of a set your own price there. They do get Just Economy Club members do get access to tools like the Fair Lending tool. There are also discounts to NCRC events. It's a little bit different than organizational membership, but those discounts still matter. Yeah, so that's a little bit more about the Just Economy Club. And I am seeing a question about providing guidance for direct negotiations with banks to make investments, with those banks to make investments in nonprofits, from Marty. Marty, that might be something that I might refer you. You've mentioned Kevin Hill a number of times on this call. That might be a good question for us to connect you with Kevin on, to help parse out kind of a little bit more about what support you're looking for and how we typically handle that. We do do some support for members to help them negotiate with banks, but we also walk a fine line in making sure that, particularly where we have a community benefits agreement with a bank, that we are working with our members to speak as one voice and to negotiate together with our full power. So that can be a little bit tricky. If Diane or Kaylee, if you could put Kevin Hill's email in there, that would be a great one. Yeah, we can make that connection there. Awesome.
I'll jump in on that. I think I'm assuming Mr. Miller was asking post CBA. So, you know, I agree that as negotiating as a collective is important, and to try to you know, us to stay together when we try to get the CBA together. Once it's done, the ink is dry, the paper is printed. I think Mr. Miller is referring, what now? What can NCRC do now to follow up? And getting back to the analogy of the well and the spigot, NCRC is not going to turn the spigot for you, but we'll show you where the well is. We'll help you figure out how to get the water out of the well. But that's up to us here at the ground level, at the community level, to engage in those negotiations. And yes, we can contact Kevin Hill and he'll give you the nuances, but it's still, you know, looking at, you know, SEBA in Philadelphia, it's still up to us to do the negotiations. I think they also make you aware that any type of conversations with a bank is not just an instant hit, that it's negotiations, even with a CBA. So all that, you know, is yes, supported. I've received that support from NCRC, and it's good.
Thanks, Will. That was great clarification, further detail. Awesome. Yeah, wonderful. A couple of questions from folks who are trying to navigate the hub. You know, feel free to reach out to Kaylee, who will walk you through and figure out who in your organization is holding the primary account, so that we can get you added, or help you join if you realize that actually you don't actually have access to that. So I think that is the time that we have for questions, although we are available beyond this webinar to answer additional questions. Will, I want to thank you so much for your insights, and also give you a last couple of minutes to give, if you could give one piece of advice to folks on this call about their NCRC membership, how to best use it. I think you've already shared some good pearls of wisdom here, but what's the last thing that you want to leave our attendees with here today?
You know, we're in the 21st century, and what money is and what banking is changing very fast. Even having the opportunity to comment on the CRA is just a comment on the rulemaking. The final rules are going to come out, and then how is that interpreted, and then how does that affect us? We're going to need someone who is really into the weeds, which, you know, again, I'm the executive director of a community-based organization. I'm doing 100 things. I don't have the time to read the regulations. That's long. in a book, but NCRC does. And NCRC then NCRC is not just ivory castle in the sky, it's a membership group. So when they have calls, you hear somebody from California say something, you hear somebody from Wisconsin say something, somebody from Florida say something, and you're learning and we're teaching one another. And again, we're able to deal with this industry that's changing at the speed of light in the 21st century. What is money? What is banking? How are they dealing with us? Especially in an age where equity is important for us and that for their investors in a way. Investors are looking at what these banks are doing, demanding that they be more equitable in a way. And so now we got, and NCRC can help them with that. So again, it's a two-way street. It's not a spectator sport, but it's an amazing source of information. And so for me, that's what the value of NCRC membership is.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. And now as we wrap up, we're going to talk about what happens next. Yep. So if you are not a current member, Diane shared this earlier, but that link again, and Diane, if you can put the link in the chat as well, ncrc.org/membership will allow you to join right then and there. That's also, if you're the primary account holder, that's where you can add your colleagues to your membership. It's also the link that you can send your colleague who is the primary account holder. So check out the Member Hub, check out those tools, check out some of the upcoming events and trainings. I mentioned this in the chat, but one thing that's not listed yet, we're still finalizing dates, but we will be doing a webinar later this fall, specifically on that fair lending tool, just because it's been such a rich tool for so many of our members. If you can go to the next slide, please. Yep. And just a reminder about our dues structure. Nonprofits, your dues are set by your budget size. Local government agencies, local governments, $900 a year, state governments, $1,500 a year, educational institutions, $900 a year. Just Economy Club, this is for individuals, or if you work for a non-profit or for a for-profit for an institution that is not eligible, or if you are at a nonprofit and your organization is not yet ready to join at the organizational level, this is a great way for you to stay connected and eventually be able to introduce others in your organization to the work. And so that, same place to join, starts at $5 a month. Next slide. Just to highlight a handful of more of the benefits that we didn't have time to go deep into in this conversation. That research assistance is really valuable. The fair lending tool we find answers about 90% of our members' questions, as you can kind of walk yourself through it and get the information you need for your locality. But then for that, the questions that tool inspires or doesn't answer, our research team is standing by, ready to help. The National Training Academy has a wealth of trainings for a variety of folks in a variety of different places in their career and with a variety of different needs to be able to better serve their communities. Newsletters we showed before, where you can sign up for specific newsletters that are curated to your needs and your interests. And then we've touched on the community benefits agreements. Those are something that are ongoing and constantly evolving. So there are other opportunities to learn about those as well. Next slide, please. We've got some contact information up here. Some of these we've already put in the chat. But if you've got a question, you're not sure who to go to, Kaylee is a great person to start with, and she can kind of help you figure out who at NCRC can answer your question, provide the resources that you're looking for. So yeah, there's a whole host of staff that would be thrilled to connect with you and help you better serve your community. Next slide. So just a final reminder of where to reach us, where to see us. Please do follow us on social and feel free to tag us using the hashtag below, Treasure CRA, Just Economy. We love to see your engagement. It inspires us. Sometimes we follow up to see how else we can connect through social media. So yeah, it's a great way to stay connected. Once again, I want to thank Will for joining and giving us a live member experience to kind of flesh out and put life onto these benefits. And thank you to all of you for you taking time out of your day to join us and learn more about NCRC and how we can partner with you.